Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Anneke's Quest. My name is Anneke. It's finished! Yes! Finally! It has taken me 6 long weeks of knitting and fiddling about with it and thinking and goodness knows what, but it's finally finished. Now, how finished is it? It is finished, I can wear it. Maybe I'm going to put a clasp here. I've got a clasp, but when I was trying it on earlier today, this stayed. It stayed flat. I thought, if I don't have to wear anything on it, that would be nice as well. But I do have a dark copper clasp that could go here. So yes. Let's talk about this first. If you want to skip bits, this is going to have chapters, so you can look at the bottom of the screen, and there's a bar, and it's divided up in sections. I don't know how many yet, but you can skip bits, the bits you're not interested in. Right, so my own design, my own work. The wool is from Woolly Knit. It's the light red is cherry and the dark red is burgundy, and it weighs almost 2 kilograms, just a bit less. I don't know, 1800. I've got a photo which I will put in at the end. Now, of course, I used more of the light color than of the dark color, but so I bought, sorry for the crinkling, 2 of those bags. Each ball is 100 grams, so 500 grams per bag. So I bought 1 kilogram of this. I bought 1 kilogram of that. And I had 2 untouched cones. So I held the cone together with the balls. Now you don't have to do that. The balls consist of 2 of those yarns held together. Basically, they twine it a bit. So I've got quite a bit of the purple, the dark one left. I could have done it with using this, whatever is on this cone, and then it would have been 1 kilogram of this color. This I used quite a bit more. As you can see, there's only 3 balls left and whatever is on the cone. This is what's left on the cone. It's not too much. But yeah, you have to be aware of the fact that you use more of your dominant color. So that's the color and the amount used. Construction. So it's knit in the round with a steek. The steek is here, and it's got knitted in. Sorry, it's got knitted in sleeves. So when I reached the armpit, I took the sleeves and incorporated them in the round. It's got not only a steeked front but also a steeked back, because when I reached the top of the shoulder I wanted this to continue, and in order for that to continue it needed to have a steek so I could attach it to the back. So for the last bit from here onwards I created a little tube which had a steek at the back as well. It's got a waistband with pleats at the bottom and a couple of pleats at the top to give some more space in the body. And then I crocheted the steeks flat. So I just ran a crochet hook with the yarn from the cone, so only 1 strand, through the bright red on either side of this, for want of a better word, button band, all the way around. I don't know what else to say about the construction. Um, it's got a dart here because the pleats at the front are deeper than the pleats at the back, and you also need to have the same amount of stitches at the top of the shoulder. So I needed to get rid of some of the stitches here, which I did with the a dart. Words. Oh, by the way, what I'm wearing a black t-shirt. I hardly have any black in my wardrobe. I've only used this to put under there to make a couple of pictures. No idea how they pan out, but it's a nice simple background. For work we had to wear black when the Queen passed away, because our building was used for a condolence condolence, I don't know. Anyway, so I ran into town and got myself a black t-shirt, which I just used now. But yeah, that's what I'm wearing. It's quite warm today. The sun has been out, even though it's overcast now, which would have been much better for taking pictures or video. Anyway, doesn't matter. Mistakes. Plenty of mistakes. So the skirt part, including the button band, the facing of the button band and the steek, was 2.5 meters in a round. So that's a substantial amount of knitting per round. And at the very beginning, there's this very simple pattern, which is one light, one dark, one light, one dark, and then the next round you swap them over, next round you swap them over. So it's a bit of a chessboard effect. Anyway, the first round of color work, I managed to make 2 mistakes where I put 2 of the same color next to each other. It was just beyond ridiculous. I can't see where it is. Anyway, it's somewhere, it's beyond halfway the round. And of course I noticed the next time I came around, I was like, what am I going to do? Because this is a lot of stitches, and who will notice? So I left it. I thought, okay, at least I know I've done the first mistakes. I'm sure there will be more, but I've done the first mistakes. So I left it. It's there. Arms, collar work. So there is a false seam at the underarm under the sleeve. Is that the way to describe it? Anyway, so every now and then you decrease on either side of that fake seam, and just to predict what color to use. It's not a difficult pattern, this bit. It's not difficult at all. And I've done it wrong so many times, and not just the first sleeve, the second sleeve as well. Even though I could see what I'd done. It's hidden, you know, you don't just notice it. Next mistake, here at the front. So in order to go from the midline to the neckline, I had to decrease some stitches. And when I noticed what I'd done, I felt so silly. I mean, honestly, really. What I'd done is I had decreased next to the dark line. And the dark line is part of this button band thing. So there's dark, light, patterny bit, light, dark. So there's one dark stitch going all the way up. And here, this bit, it could hardly have been more central. This bit, I decreased under the last of the pattern. Which is silly because it makes the pattern go wonky. Once I noticed, I was like, what am I going to do? Am I going to rip it back to fix it? Am I going to lather it back to fix it, or am I going to leave it? And I knew I didn't have time for ripping it back. Lathering back was going to be interesting, let's put it like that. I decided to leave it and to do it correctly from then onwards, and you can see that the pattern here just continues into this button band situation. Maybe I'll do some duplicate stitches to correct the worst of the jarring bit of where the pattern goes wrong, but that's not right. Another silly mistake. My pockets are uneven, so they're at the same height, but they're not at the same distance from the middle. One is further forwards and the other is further backwards. I have no idea how it happened, to the point that because I'd calculated and calculated and calculated. Am I sure? Yes, I'm sure. Am I really sure? Yes, I'm sure. And there was something niggling at the back of my mind, and I could never put my finger on it. And I was like, I've recalculated. You know, what else can I do? So the pockets are made by knitting up. Let's put this by knitting this in one color first, so the pocket bit where you can put stuff, and then where your hand goes in, that has then been incorporated in the skirt. So as long as you've got the right amount of stitches, the pattern will just continue, which it did. It did on both pockets. The placing within the pattern was correct. The placing within the skirt was wrong. So this pocket is in the pleat, and it's just hidden, and this pocket is inside. It's visible. You can see the entrance. Not that you notice it, because it could have easily been a pleat or anything. It's just the pattern continues, but it is more visible, and it's more on the hips rather than in front of the hips. So that's that. What else? The waist. So once the skirt was done, I made the pleats, and I knitted the pleats together. So that's 3 layers of fabric, knitted them together in order to create the right amount of stitches for the waist. So you've got pleats, you've got waist, which is fine, but for some reason, and I don't know why, I still don't know why, from this point, those last 3, it's 1 stitch off, and I've no idea where that stitch is. Maybe it's still there loose somewhere. Maybe I knit 2 stitches together. I don't know what it is, but this bit is 1 stitch off. The last 3, all the other ones are correct. That's the one that's off. Another mistake, I don't know if you can call it a mistake, this waistband, and there's pictures for it. So roll back a bit. The whole garment weighs almost 2 kilograms. That's a lot of weight. And even though I knitted a waist, which is less stitches, it's wool, it's flexible, it will settle towards my body, and the whole weight will hang from the shoulders, and the waist will distort, and it won't look right. So I thought, if I have some canvas or tape or whatever behind that, and I put a hook and eye on that, then the skirt bit hangs from my waist. Not the shoulders, not the garment itself, but it sits in my waist, and that's where it will stay put. which is correct, and it works, and it's all fine. It's just creating that piece of fabric. I started this morning, early in the morning, and it took me 3.5 hours to just get the fabric right. And it was because I was using what I've got. I intended to use other things that were more appropriate, couldn't find them. Anyway, 3.5 hours later, I had my fabric waistband, which then I still had to sew it onto the knitted fabric, but at least that bit was done. And it went wrong in so many weird ways. It was not funny. There are those moments in time where you go like, really? I've had enough now. This morning I'd had enough of that waistband, believe me. So yes, but it does what it needs to do. It's holding up the garment. So yeah, not a mistake, but I'm going to show it only once. So if you want to see it, better watch now. And that's the underarm. That little line. It's a dog's dinner. It's horrible. It's not nice. It's if I say it's not my best work, that would be an understatement. It's really. So in order to be able to continue to knit, I put. So this is all knit in one piece. So the sleeves, I knitted the sleeves to the armpit, and I knitted the body to the armpit, and once I'd reached that, I incorporated the sleeves into the circle, which is fine. I had about this many stitches on the body and this many stitches on the sleeve, which I put on waste yarn, because normally when I do that, the first round I do is I knit those two, the body and the sleeve, I knit it together. So there's a flat line of body and sleeves knitted together, and then the next round I incorporate the sleeve. But because this has got a pattern, and I wanted to use the pattern in order to do several decreases, and I wanted it to continue, if I had done my normal method, the pattern would have jumped, and I didn't want that. So I thought, okay, I'll put it on waste yarn and I'll deal with the hole later. So when I came to dealing with the hole, the stitches were there. They were easy to pick up, and there was no problem at all. I could sew them together. It's absolutely fine. But I also wanted this dark bit to continue over that. Oh man, honestly, it's very secure. I can say that for sure. It's very secure, but it looks horrible. It's very good. It's in the armpit, and not many people are going to see it. An almost mistake, which would have been maybe not disastrous, but really not fun. When I knitted the skirt up, just before knitting the waistline, the last round I incorporated a lifeline, which is fine. Just in case something went wrong, you can rip it back to that lifeline. I had another lifeline around, I don't know whether it was here or there, somewhere in the top there was a lifeline as well, again just in case something went wrong. So when I started to tidy up and weave in the ends and all the rest of it, I thought, oh well, let's get rid of those lifelines. So I pulled out the first lifeline, no problem at all. Second lifeline, I started pulling and I thought there's something not quite right. Of course, the pleats make pulling it out more difficult, but this was different again. So I started to investigate, and what had happened was when I knitted the pockets, initially I thought to knit the pockets together with the pleats and then create the waist. But 5 layers is a lot, and you have to go through 5 stitches and pull it back, and I thought it was going to be a bit much on the yarn, and so I decided to leave the pockets and do them later. And they were on the lifeline, so there was no problem, which just goes to show how quickly I can forget, because as I said, I knitted it in 6 weeks. I've been working on this, just on this. I haven't done any other knitting or anything else that could distract me from what I'd done, and I had forgotten that those stitches of the pockets were still live stitches on that waist yarn, just waiting to be finished. Anyway, so the next job was to finish the pockets. But yeah, that was so silly. I thought, how can I forget something like that? And it's just because so much happened between that part of the waistline and me having finished all the knitting. Still, it took me a while to realize. So if I were to do this again, and I don't intend to knit this again anytime soon, because it's a lot of knitting and I've got one now, so why knit something exactly the same? I do intend to make it into a pattern, not a pattern as in 2 left, 1 right, go up or whatever. More a recipe, as in those are the steps I did in order to create that. If you follow those steps with your own measurements, with your own yarn, with your own your own ideas, you will get something similar that hopefully will fit you. So what I would advise other people to do in a different way is to steek the pockets. I would not incorporate the pockets, not with this thick fabric. I would steek the pockets, so I would create extra stitches to create the steek, and then I would make the pocket out of either just the yarn from the cone, so that's really thin, or just the yarn from the ball, which is still thinner than this colourwork. So it would be less bulky, and you can join a thinner fabric with a thicker fabric if you do a steek. That's absolutely fine. So I would do that. I would also create some sort of lifeline in those pleats, because those pleats were constructed by creating extra stitches, which is just a twist on the needle, and I would put extra yarn in that too, with a good contrast to the yarn you're using, because when it came to closing those holes and came to making the pleats, it was very difficult to see where the stitches were, and there's so much yarn behind it. And even though my floats are and there are photos of my floats are fine, there's nothing wrong with my floats, it's just those edges, those new edges, and it's I would put some high contrast yarn in it so you can just see the stitches better where you've made them, and it's easier to count and easier to work with when you come to making the pleats. And that is all I've got to say about that. Did I mention it? Maybe there's going to be a clasp, I don't know yet, but it's holding its shape for now, so I don't know. So yeah, next project. What am I going to do? Well, as I said, I've worked on that for 6 weeks, and it was in my head, and it needed to get out of my head. It needed to be done. It needed to be finished, and already, I forgot I had live stitches. I thought I was done. I had live stitches there that needed to be seen to. I knew about the live stitches in the underarm because somehow I remembered that, but I hadn't remembered the ones in the pockets. So for me, if I really wanted this project to be finished, I needed it to finish in one go. It's not a project for me to set aside, because then I forget what I was doing or which way I was going, or lots of things. So it needed to be finished, which means that all the other stuff I need to do in my life has been on hold, other than work. I've been working. But things like housework, things like study, things like calling friends and family. That needs doing now. I need to clean. I need to tidy. It's a big mess in here. And I need to study again, because 6 weeks, 6 week gap is a long gap. And fine, initially I was like, oh, I've done my exam now, let's have a break. This was going to be my break, my study break. The study break has taken 6 flipping weeks. So yeah, that was a bit of a longer break than I anticipated. Never mind, we're here now, it's finished. So housework and study it is, and getting in touch with friends and family again. That'll be good. Knitting wise, I've got one project to finish. Which is this cardigan. I don't know if you remember it, but this is a superwash wool, which I knit up into a sweater, just a brown. This is 2 yarns, so just this brown yarn I knitted up in a sweater. I wasn't wearing the sweater. I just didn't wear it. So no point in having something in your wardrobe you're not wearing. So I got myself a sock yarn and started knitting an oversized cardigan for visitors. Whoever comes here and feels cold, they can put this on. It's oversized, so it will always fit. For smaller people, it will be like a big blanket with sleeves, and for bigger people, they will fill it out. So it needs sleeves. I need to make sleeves for this, and similar to that, a button band, but much wider. It will overlap for a bit, and it will also go around your neck like so. But then a much wider variation, and that band, scarf, whatever you want to call it, will be made of dark brown, again with variegated yarn. Now that's been knit in size 6 needles, and it started to hurt my hands. This is 5.5, which is I think it's 5.5. I'll have to look it up. But this is knit in the flat, which for that I pick the yarn. For knitting in the flat, I throw the yarn, so it's a different movement. So I hope I can do this. If I can't finish this because it hurts my hand, then it will linger a bit longer. Right, so there's that. Then I'm doing so this is wool. I've got a lot of wool, more wool. Who in their right mind starts working on a very thick woolen cardigan the 2nd of April when you live in the Northern Hemisphere? Not a bright choice, I would say, but it's there. So I thought the next project I'm going to make, let it be something simple, natural yarn, linen or silk or something like that, and then make it into a t-shirt, something that I can wear in the summer. So when I was at Wonderwool Wales, I got myself tencel, and I think the lady told me this particular tencel is made of eucalyptus. Not really sure, but I think that's what she said, because tencel is a brand, and the materials used are plants, but could be various plants. Anyway, that's how I understood it. It's from Flora fiber, and it's a kind of apricot corally color. It's made with madder and weld. Anyway, so I've got this, and I skeined and I wound up one of the skeins, and started a swatch. This is needle 3. I will now go up to 3.5. I will go up to 4, but I don't think it's going to be 4. I don't want to go smaller than 3 because this is fiddly enough. Hopefully it's going to be just a t-shirt, but I wasn't really thinking clearly. I bought a skein of silk as well, and something with bamboo, I think it was. And of both those, I had the clarity of mind, as in, I don't know how this knits, let's just try this, see whether I like the feel in my hands and whether I like the fabric that comes out of it. So I bought only one skein of those. Of this, I bought, I think it's 4 skeins. It's enough for a t-shirt for me. Just simple t-shirt, nothing special. And it's hand dyed, so it's quite expensive. And I thought, well, when I came home, there was a bit of buyer's regret, despite it being lovely yarn, despite it being a lovely colour. It's got a shine on it as well, which is, you know, all my other things are very natural, very dull, really dull. I've got dull clothes. So this would be very different. It's an unknown. I don't know if I like to knit it. I don't know whether I like the fabric that comes out of it, and I don't know if I like to wear it. Yet I bought 4 skeins of those. Why did I do that? I have no idea. I've no idea. And now the t-shirt that I'm going to make out of it, I have to wear it an awful lot of times in order to make it worthwhile. But you live and learn, I hope. What I can't understand is why I didn't apply the same logic to this as I applied to the silk and the bamboo. But yeah, here we are. Hopefully it's going to be nice. I did think this will be nice with dark brown. So if I've got a dark brown linen skirt or dark brown linen dress, and if it's a dress, then it should be kind of cropped-ish version. That could be nice. That could be a nice combination. And just the simplest of t-shirts, just plain. That's the plan of this. Then there was a sale from Woolly Knit for the King's coronation. They had, I don't know how much off. I do know 20% off. I think of everything, and which made the balls of yarn the cheapest option. I find it difficult to explain. So they sell cones of yarn, and this is very thin yarn. It's really very thin. But the balls of yarn they've got is the same yarn, it's just 2 plied together. That's the difference. Now the cones normally cost £25, and in the sale they were £20. Those, I don't know how much they originally were. I think they must have been £20 originally, and in the sale they were 16. 500 grams of wool for £16. So I bought several. I bought this one, which is Harvest. There you go. Harvest. There is burnt orange. There is cinnamon. Oatmeal. And and dark grey. So these are the ones I bought, and I wanted to make a little cape with a whatever band and then a hood. A little cape to the elbow, just above the waist. And I wanted to make that in the cinnamon shade, and then a dark brown band at the bottom and alongside the hood, and then create Celtic knotwork on that dark brown. So I started knitting a swatch, and already when I was knitting, I was I was tired, but I was knitting and it felt weird, and the yarn started to crinkle on itself, and I was like, this is annoying. So every now and then I would hold the fabric up, or my knitting up, and let it unwind. So yeah, didn't pay too much attention to it. Washed my swatch, and the next morning I looked at the swatch, and the entire swatch is out of square. So I went back to the ball of yarn, pulled more yarn out, and that particular ball of yarn has too much ply in it. It's too much twist. And once the yarn has too much twist and you knit it, it goes, it leans, it goes that way. So no amount of blocking or stretching will change this. It will always go back to a skewered position, because the twist in the yarn is knitted into the fabric. So up till now, Woolly Knit has been wonderful whenever I call with whatever weird problem. They've always been really good. This and the problems I've had with them was the light color in this. The one I bought didn't look like the picture on screen, so it was much darker. Beautiful color, absolutely beautiful color, but not enough contrast to make something like that. And what's the point in making color work if you can't see the contrast? So they exchanged that, which was, yeah, they were absolutely fabulous about that. I've had a cone of yellow once that when it arrived I was like, whoa. That's not my kind of color. Again, looked different from what it looked on online, and they exchanged it for something else, and I was happy. And during Wonderwool Wales, I had bought a skein of, can't remember, something that I had already in a cone. So the next day I went back and asked, can I please exchange it for something else? And that was fine as well. So I don't foresee any problems with getting this rectified in some shape or form. I'm just wondering if it's just this batch, or whether I have to check all the balls of wool to see if they all have too much twist. That's from similar, it's the same kind of wool, same kind of balls, same process, and they were fine. So yeah, I don't really know how I'm going to put it, well, one, put it into words, and two, how we're going to rectify it. If it's the whole batch that's gone wrong, then I would be happy with getting a cone. I mean, 500 grams is 500 grams. And I've got cinnamon already on a cone. So then I would have 2 cones and I just take it off that and would have this thickness. So yeah, there's that. Did I show you the blue one? I got this on Wonderwool Wales. It's called Manard. It's also woolly knit. And it's I'm not going to say it's my last attempt, but it's, for the time being, it's going to be my last attempt for blue and knitting with blue into something that I can wear. I don't know yet whether it's going to be a cardigan or a sweater. Again, I want to create Celtic knotwork on this. So I have to do some tests for that. I've got some braids already. So yeah, I have to run some tests just to see how the fabric behaves. Pretty sure this will be knit up in a size 3.5mm needles in order to get the sturdiness of the fabric that I would require for the braids. So there's that. And then a while ago they had an offer, and they had new colours out, and this is Moorland, which is, it looks like a very natural white, but it's darker than natural white. This is my own homespun natural white, so you can see the difference. This doesn't really suit me. This suits me better. And they have Cotswolds. Also a beautiful, beautiful color. It looks a bit harsher on screen than it is in real life, but yeah, this is me in my in my happy place. I'll just put it all together. See? It's all the same palette, it's all the same idea of colors. So yeah, I've got plenty to do. I want some simple knits for when I'm studying, because that was not simple enough to study with. I want some straightforward things, so I can knit whilst I study, listen to the lectures at least. And those colours, they just make me happy. I don't know why, I don't know what it is, but yeah, they make me happy. And summer may be coming, but yeah, it's if I can keep on knitting with that wool, then I will keep on knitting with that wool, and with a tencel, of course, my experiment. And who knows, this might be beautiful. I like the colours. I really like the colours. It's got a little bit of variegation into it. So yeah, hopefully it works out. We will see, we will see, we will see. Right, I think that's all. Oh, yes, one more thing. I still have to do the video of Wonderwool Wales Part 2. It's a lot of work, and once I'd done the first part, I had uploaded everything, and the second part, all the information was gone. It was just, it had left it had left the editing software. I've no idea where it went. I'm sure I've got the original, but yeah, it will be a lot of work to do that again. Not sure when that will happen, but it will be in the mix of housework, study, garden. I need to do the garden, and the rest, you know, editing and all that. Yeah, that's it. That's it for now. I wish you all the best. Please like, subscribe and share. You know, if you know anyone who loves to knit or, you know, do any needlework, yeah, please spread the word. That would be amazing. And yeah, I hope to see you soon with whatever project is going to be. I have no idea. I have no idea what the next project is going to be. I've got ideas, but I don't know which one it's going to be. We will see. We will see. It will be fine. At the end of this video, I will have some photos of the cardigan, and more details, and yeah, hopefully you will enjoy that. Thank you for watching. All the best. Thank you. Bye. Hello there. Editing Anneke here. I noticed a mistake I made in the video when I was talking about the sleeve and the mistakes that I had made in the sleeve. Of course, I meant increases, because the sleeve is knit. The sleeves are knit from the bottom up. So I had to increase the stitches, and with the increase in stitches, I managed to make mistakes in the collar work. So that was one that needed to be rectified. And then two things that were still on the list of things to do. Yes, no, yes, no. As you can see, I've added 2 clasps. I was in 2 minds about it. Shall I, shan't I, shall I, shan't I? And initially I didn't, because it did stay flat when I was wearing it. But I think it adds a little bit of interest where it needs interest, and it isn't going to fulfill a function. It will keep it flat when I'm sitting down or moving around, just because it can't go anywhere, rather than the button band flopping out, because it's loose. The button band is loose, so that the fabric band underneath can do the work, and I can still close it and open it. So there's that. I've added it, and I'll see how I go, even though not today or anytime soon, because the sun is out and it's beautiful weather, so no need for a very thick cardigan. The other thing that is not necessary, because I can wear it as it is, but it is on the list of things I want to do, but I can't at this moment in time, is to put a velvet ribbon on the steek, just to nicely cover it up. Now this is very grippy wool. It's rustic, it's not going anywhere, it's fine. But I'd like the inside of the garment to look presentable, and especially a velvet ribbon, in my mind, finishes it just, you know, it's the extra bit. And once you've made something like this, you want it to be nice, both on the inside and the outside. So I got myself some ribbon. This is one ribbon, and as you can see, can you see? I don't know how it comes across on camera, but when I take this red to the cardigan looks dull. The bright red of the cardigan looks dull in comparison to this. So this was a no. So I ordered some velvet that was sold to me as burgundy. And on first glance, it kind of looks like burgundy. But when you hold it next to it, it's, again, I don't know how it comes across on camera, but it is more dark pink than burgundy. Which makes sense, because the backside is pink. So again, it doesn't have the, it's not the right color. It's just, it's not the right ribbon. Also, both ribbons are polyester, nylon, give it a name, it's artificial, and I would love for the ribbon to be either cotton or silk, just because the rest is wool. To use polyester or any other man-made fiber that's oil-based it's not quite right. But I have to make sure that I put some of the yarns, just some waste yarn, in my purse, so that I've got it with me at all times, because I am the worst person for remembering a color as it is and matching it up with a color in a shop. It's just it's after all these years of sewing and knitting, it's just not a skill I've acquired, and my solution is to bring a piece of fabric or a piece of yarn with me so that I can match it in the shop. At this moment in time, I don't really know where to go. If you've got any ideas where I can find silk velvet ribbon or cotton velvet ribbon or any other natural product velvet ribbon, please let me know. It would also be great if it's far away for the shop to be able to send me samples. You know, it just needs to be a tiny bit for me to match it to the fabric I've got, to the cardigan. And yeah, that would be amazing. If you know of anything, please let me know. That's all for now. I thought, let me rectify the sleeve and add the clasp and the ribbon bit, which I hadn't addressed yet. So without further ado, here are the detailed photos of making the last stages of making this cardigan, and yeah, enjoy. Thank you very much for watching. See you later.